evening. Let's pray. God in heaven, we thank you. We praise you just for the opportunity we have to live in a nation that is so free, God. We praise you for this county council and the men and women that are on this team and this council. And God, we just pray that today as they make decisions pertaining to the county, God, that you will give them wisdom and, Father, that they can know the right directions to take, and just so that we can make this a better place to live, God. And we just thank you for this county, and we just pray that you continue to bless it. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, we'll all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start this meeting off with our presenters with the grant.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here. I had sent some information, or had Jane forward some information to you regarding the HELP grant that is available through OKRA. I'm going to go ahead and just give kind of a brief summary of what it is before we start, and then I'll get into some of the details. The Office of Community and Rural Affairs is offering the program to assist communities with the creation and the implementation of a plan for the ARPA funds. Recognizing the need for strategic planning when it comes to the ARPA funds, OKRA is going to offer 12 communities the opportunity to participate in this program. And we would be partnering with the Office of Community and Rural Affairs as well as 4 different universities during this whole process. The program would call for us to have committees established to look at each of the 4 fundable areas that is covered under the ARPA funds. And those committees would work with the community and bring feedback into the project when establishing that strategic implementation plan. The total time committed for this would be 52 weeks to develop and then to begin the implementation process for this particular grant project. If the community is willing to participate in this, at the end of the 52 weeks, the carrot at the end of the stick is that they're willing to offer up $1 million to match what the community is putting when it comes to the projects that are identified in the strategic implementation plan. Of that $1 million, since the city would be a partner with the county in this project, what had been discussed is that it would be a 50% split, to where $500,000 of that would go toward county identified projects, and then the other $500,000 would go towards city identified projects. The things that we would have to do if we were going to participate in this is restrict 30% of the ARPA funds to be utilized for projects that are identified and placed into that strategic implementation plan. The other thing that we would have to do is establish a community coordinator position. We would be required as an applicant to provide $20,000 in matching funds, and then OKRA would match $20,000 for a total of $40,000 for a community coordinator. At this point in time, with us going in as joint applicants with the city, the county would only be required to expend $10,000. And as the ruling is right now on the ARPA funds, that $10,000 could actually come out of the ARPA funds. We don't have that final ruling yet. Should be getting it pretty soon. But as of right now, how it's written, any kind of grant program that is put into place that you participate in that deals directly with those funds, you can pay the administrative costs for that, which is what this person would be doing completely. They would be attending ARPA training when it comes to the funds, how they're spent, the reporting, the requirements, as well as meeting with OKRA to go over the process of putting that plan together. I have approached City Council, and they have approved to go in as a partner on this program and to provide the $10,000 for the position. I brought it before the commissioners this morning, and they did go ahead and vote to submit the application pending council approval for that 10,000 matching for that position, as well as that 30% restriction on the ARPA funds. And I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there really fast. So tonight, what I really need is for the council to approve and commit the $10,000 for that position, the community coordinator position, and to commit 30% of the American Rescue Plan allotment toward projects that will be identified as we go through this 52-week process and then approved in that strategic implementation plan. Just a few things that we have already discussed and I've talked to Jeff about, Jeff Westling about, is an interlocal agreement to where the county funds the 30% of the allocation that the county is putting into it would be spent on county identified projects. And then the 30% that the city has restricted that they're putting into the project would be spent on city identified projects. And then the $500,000 would be the same way. That $500,000 that's the county's would be expended on projects that are identified in the strategic implementation plan that identifies as a county project. And I'm sure there's questions.
Is this person going to be a city employee then, or
Yes.
contracted position?
They are going to be a city employee. We cannot have a 1099. We cannot hire a 1099 individual. They do have to be an actual employee. I have asked questions regarding, of the $40,000, is some of that going to go to pay FICA? Or are we going to have to pay the FICA tax over on top of that? And then also 30 hours means a full-time person. I've asked if we can do 29 and a half hours so that they're not considered a full-time person, so we don't have to offer insurance and such. So those questions are still being asked. This is a pilot program, so it's not something that they already have nailed down when it comes to some of these regulations. So that is something that we're working through. But the city is interested in housing the person. We have an extra office in there that's close to my office. Equipment, we could provide the equipment. It would work similar to what the community development office or my office is at this point in time, to where city would pay it and then we would just bill for the county's portion. And then Alexandria is here too with the foundation. She has been a very strong advocate for the program and will be a partner in all of this, working on the steering committee and different things like that.
Is it a 52-week position, or does the position continue after the grant, or?
What we're hoping is that it will continue. As far as the grant is concerned right now, it's 52 weeks. But I know that the city has expressed interest in having a person not only continue to implement this plan, because it's not going to happen in 52 weeks. We're not going to have everything expended, everything identified, and everything done, all the construction completed within that 52 weeks. It's definitely going to be ongoing. At this point in time, all we're required to make as far as a commitment is 52 weeks. But there has been discussion on the possibility of keeping that position.
So technically, this could be a little bit more than $10,000, depending on some of the answers you get from Okra. That we're basically committing to this. I mean, yes, the $10,000 for the person, but then there's also potential benefits we're going to have to throw in. Because the city's not going to pay all the benefits, even though they're a city employee.
It is my understanding, when we met and we discussed with Colette, that there is a possibility we'll be able to do 29 hours because different communities have different rules. I know 30 hours is considered full-time when you're looking at, it's what the federal government has said as far as that goes. But I know different communities have different things. I think you guys are considered full-time at, is it 28 hours, Jane? Is when you're considered full-time? It's similar like that.
For benefits, it's 30.
For benefits, it is 30.
Yeah,
Okay.
we say part-time up to 28, just so we don't bump too close to that 30 hours.
Okay. So that is just something I don't think they took into consideration. I will not have that answer until she gets back with me on that.
But potentially, it could be.
It could be potential, yes.
All right.
What will the salary be?
It would be a total of 40,000,
A year
yes.
plus benefits? If it's full-time, it'll be benefits. Some of them
If
might
it's
be-
full-time, but we don't know for sure. I'm trying to get it at 29 and a half hours.
We'd be on the hook for about 25%. And as far as the salary goes, now the benefits would be on the hook for 50
Right.
if it's required, but we don't know that it's required.
And as of right now, I mean, I'm asking for that 10,000, and it's
Right.
all contingent
I
upon,
gotcha.
grant funding.
I got you. For the public's awareness, tell me about the 4 fundable areas.
Okay. I had a feeling that was going to be asked. Just saying, so I printed it off. The areas that are eligible, they go hand in hand with already what ARPA has stated. It's a response to public health emergency caused by the negative impacts directly attributed to COVID-19. And the second item, I will go into a little bit more detail, but it says any provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue. There is a formula that you utilize to come up with that. And I can talk about that a little bit more, or Jane can later on. Providing premium pay to essential workers. Necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. And direct aid to qualified census tracts or other communities adversely impacted by the public health crisis. And that is basically being quoted from the ARPA guidelines.
Yeah. I read your full email, in all the categories.
Water, sewer, broadband, that type of thing.
Yes.
Even for pathways.
Yes, do they simplify it on the, yeah, come on.
Hi there, Alexander Klug with the Foundation. I think the question you might have been asking, Scott, is there are 4 pathways they identify that would need some support from the community, and those are advancing e-connectivity, enhancing quality of place, promoting community wellness, and strengthening the local economy. So those are the 4 identified pathways for this particular grant, all of which do align with appropriate use of the ARPA funding as per the interim final rule.
And you said that is a potential to be renewed again?
So that is up to the community. What the program requires is a 52-week, well, the program is 52 weeks. They expect the person to work that full year. At least after they are hired, there would be a period of time for the hiring process. It might not be technically the full 52 weeks. But they encourage communities to consider further funding at that $40,000 level to continue the support into their community. It's not a requirement. And that I don't believe is being asked of tonight. The reason, they were very thoughtful about this particular part of the program. A lot of times programs don't include something like hiring a person to coordinate, and then a lot of the communities struggle with the coordination because there's no person necessarily identified to see through all the work. They were also very firm, as Jaleesa mentioned, that they would not support the communities hiring either a contractor or a consultant to come in and do this work. They recognize that they'd like to support communities hiring somebody from within to really support their own community. And therefore, that's why they also encourage communities to think about, another year or so, so that the work that is identified in the strategic implementation plan, or excuse me, investment plan, can be seen through. But again, it's not a requirement.
Will they put out or give us more money again in a year?
They haven't expressed that they would be doing that at this point in time. As Jaleesa also said, again, per the interim final rule, ARPA funding is allowed to be used for the administration of grant programs used to utilize this money. So it doesn't have to come out of general budget. It can be another sort of pool from that ARPA amount if a community wanted to do that. That would be there. And they could do that for the following year as well if they wanted to. Again, it's up to each individual community.
But ultimately, we're going to be just paying our little portion and end up getting $500,000.
You would be allocating 30% of your ARPA money, and you would need to identify a $10,000 amount to help pay for the coordinator. Could come from ARPA, could come from your budget, that would be up to you.
Right.
We started discussing today about the benefits because we confirmed that 30 hours was in fact full-time, so that is a little up in the air, but we have really been trying to diligently work and get those answers for you guys. We just didn't get it in time by this meeting.
So basically, we have to allocate 30% toward this program,
Yes.
which is $1.344 million, in the
That's
hope that we could get 500,000 more.
That's from the rescue plan though.
This is what we're talking
Correct.
about, okay?
I
The
know.
community would get $1 million, and then the city and county here would split that 50-50.
Right.
What's the city putting in?
Their 30% is approximately $866,000. They have received less than the county, so.
The projects that are identified, who does the identifying? How does that work?
That is what the program is for in its entirety. So the institutions of higher education that are partnering with Okra, Ball State, IU, Purdue, Ivy Tech, they each bring some of their expertise to the table. They will be actively working with the community coordinator and interfacing with each community. There'll be a core team of leadership as well as a team for each of those 4 pathways. So it would be a very intentional effort over the year to engage with not only those pathways teams, but also the community. But not just to be going in and putting stickers on a chart, right? The whole point of this is that by the end of that year, there's an actionable plan supported by Okra, those entities, and informed by the community. There's also a dashboard that would be created for our community, so we could on the web show publicly the work that's being done and track the progress toward that. They've also been aware of community saying what we've all heard, which is I go to a meeting, I hear something, then I give my input, nothing happens. So having a person helping coordinate this and shepherd it through, having a dashboard where you could point to for your community to say, look, these are the things you've identified, we're working on them, let's show you the progress over the course of the next few years is a key aspect. That's good. Part of that's not dollars, but it has a value. And then having those key partners and the trainings and the community sessions being supported and led by these entities, the whole process is getting you to the end of the 52 weeks where you will then have this plan that would identify where the money would be spent.
But I guess so it's a combination of the general public, correct?
Right.
Yes,
And the
pathways teams.
Pathways teams, and the Pathways teams would be made up of Okra, no?
Community members.
Community
I think it's
members.
6 to 8 community members. Those
Who-
haven't been
And who picks
identified.
those?
The county and city would be picking them jointly.
For the
So-
application, the core team has to be identified, but if you are selected, you would work with Okra and their support and the core team to identify who should represent.
So city and county entities would pick individual people
Mhm.
to be on those.
Ideally, those who have some expertise or knowledge around one of those 4 pathways. I think it's
Okay.
6 to 8 people per pathway to try to get a swath of people from the community who have various experiences.
I assume, I think I've expressed my feelings on some plans the city has done in the past and their inability to get them completed or financed. I assume the committee that's going to be set up that if the individual government entities have to approve their own, like the commissioners and council would approve whatever part of the big plan is for the county and the city, without either one, should we say, overriding or moving in. I'm just trying to keep this separate because of
Right. We would have one plan, and in that plan, it would identify, this is a county identified project, or this is a city identified. I think that's the only way that we'd be able to do that, but the way that we're restricting the funds to where county monies go for county projects.
because auditing trail is going to be a mess.
Right.
So
in the end.
So how is this application scored? I mean, there's only 12 communities that are going to get it. I would assume that there'll be a lot more than that apply in Indiana. What's the scoring? I mean, how are they going to determine?
What we were told, which is in this document, it's a fairly minimal statement, but this is what they're saying. The question is what criteria will be used to evaluate the application, and their answer is communities will be evaluated on their ability to form a committed core and advisory teams, the expected benefit of participation and help, their history of or reception to community collaboration, and alignment and support of sustainable development. So basically they're going off of what we say has been our experience and what we're committed to doing moving forward. We don't have a specific rubric though that I could provide to you.
So then is there a possibility that we hire this person for 52 weeks and on 53 weeks we find out we're not getting the money?
No, we would not hire anyone or move forward unless we found out that we received the funds.
Right, it's all contingent upon receiving those grant funds. And that's what we had put in the resolution, is contingent upon.
And what's the timeline on that? When
The
is that
application,
awarded?
the application has to be submitted on October 1st, and then they're supposed to make the announcements November 5th. They have been
Pretty
pushing
quick.
some of the
Yeah, pretty
announcements back, a week or so.
Yeah.
So just saying, they're saying it's November 5th. but-
Yeah, so we were very surprised to hear that quick turnaround as well. It's also worth noting that these are for non-entitlement communities. So there are 21 entitlement communities and 2 entitlement counties that would not be eligible, which does improve our chances. Also, of course, this is anecdotal, but calls I have been on with other community foundations, one I was on recently with 7 or 8 others, none of their communities were applying. This, I think, was mostly a factor because of things like READY, the READY initiative through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation being due at the same time, and there's just a lot of other grant things going on. We have a program as well, so.
So you're saying our odds are pretty good.
I mean, I obviously can't
Sounds
promise
like it.
anything. We can't promise anything, but 12 communities will be selected. There will be 3 cohorts of 4, and they will start 6 months apart from one another. So one of the things we did discuss is it's a brand new program. If you're like me, I'm not really a fan of buying the first make and model of a new car. I want to give it a year or 2 so they can get out the kinks. So you can request, I don't want to go first cycle. Can you put us in the 2nd or 3rd cohort so that we can also give a little time to ourselves, see what they're doing, let them work out the kinks as well.
Yes.
So that's just.
I did read your entire, and I went on the website and everything and the webinar and all that. I think it's a great idea. It's just making it happen. But yeah, I think it's a good idea.
He said the commissioners this morning okayed the 10,000. He didn't say anything about the 30%.
Their resolution did approve it all, but some of that is council's decision versus commissioners. So. And that's what we're actually asking council tonight, to commit the 10,000, and then also to commit the 30% of the American Rescue Plan allotment to go toward this project for the identified projects.
Dale, do you have any comments about it?
Talking to him.
I don't care.
Well, I'll say this. I have certain reservations and I'm a little bit apprehensive about this grant, the way it's set up. Especially since we don't know yet what all the rules are going to be. And that's certainly not Joe Lisa's fault. Okra, for some reason or another, has rolled this thing out. And they seem to be making the rules up as they go. And certainly they will, there will be there will be rules identified, and they may change during the course of this thing, and we don't know really yet what we don't know, do we, Joe Lisa? I've never encountered anything quite like this. The big carrot on the end of the stick is that $500,000 that we stand to pick up. And if the commissioners just dismiss this whole thing out of hand, can you imagine the criticism that we would get for doing that? I can see how this thing possibly could work for us, and I can see how we could possibly be blown off course by it too. But we have already, since we've received ARPA funds, we have kind of identified and designated 3 projects, being the Dollar General project, replacement of the air handling system at the county jail, and the St. Jude's water project that we're still awaiting a feasibility study on. Those 3 projects alone would use up all of our ARPA funds. Now, if this program could be managed in a way to augment ARPA funds toward these 3 projects that the commissioners have already identified, that would be a great thing. But if opposing forces within the various committees that this is going to involve changes direction or causes us to change direction, then we would be off our original course. I think there's a possibility we could manage it in the right way, but I think certainly having the right people involved is key to that end. So it's it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another. Now, if you folks say, no, we really don't feel like taking a chance on this, I'm not going to be mad at you over it. At the same time, and I think I speak for Dale, we didn't want to take the chance of rejecting the idea out of hand, because if we did, then we'd run the risk of you guys being mad at us for not doing it. So I should say, I personally, I do not like the idea of us being mandated to put people on the payroll. I don't like that part of it. And I don't like the part that they are setting a salary either. There's several things about it that I don't like. There again, if we're going to get their $500,000, then we gotta play by their rules, whatever the rules may be. And at this time, we don't know what all the rules are. We've got an outline of this project, but there's an awful lot that we don't know yet. And it puts Dale and I, as well as Joe Lisa and Alexandra, in a real spot. They've given us this deadline that we have to hurry up and beat, and with no, we really don't know exactly what our chances are of being chosen. The fact that there's only going to be 12 in the entire state, I don't know how many is going to apply. It's more complicated than I would like it to be. And I don't know yet if we were chosen, if it turned out to be something that we really couldn't live with. Joe Lisa, do you think there's any way that we could back out?
Yes.
We could?
She actually did state that you can go up to the point of the agreement or contract applying doesn't necessarily lock you in. That's what we were told by our
Yes.
regional coordinator.
Okay. So, I wish I could be more sure about this thing. As does Jolisa and Alexandra. But right now, with the lack of information we're getting from the Okra office, we just don't know yet.
I'm a little concerned about costs. Prior to this, commissioners, and Dale Munson, I'd like you to talk too on this. Prior to this discussion about this grant opportunity, you folks, you've outlined 3 projects that you're considering for the ARPA monies, right? Was it your plan to do all 3 projects within the ARPA monies?
We were hoping to.
Hoping to. One of those 3 projects, your consultants have said would cost us between 67 and 90% of our ARPA monies. One of them.
90%?
Anywhere from 67 to 90%. When you look at what DLZ provided, the hard costs between 2.6 and 3.1 million, another 15 to 30% for the hard costs, or for the soft costs, excuse me. So at a minimum, 2.99 million, which is about 67% of our ARPA money. At a maximum, 4,030,000, which is 90% of our ARPA money. How are you going to try to fit everything in, especially if we've got to put 30% toward this, unless you're hoping that some of those 3 projects can be incorporated with this?
Exactly.
That's what you're looking to do?
You just hit the nail right on the head.
We're beyond our time. We're supposed to be concluded at 6 o'clock here, so we need to wrap this up.
I'm glad to see, Scott, that you understand the trickiness of this thing. So that's why I said we could easily be blown off course.
Julissa, you need a decision on this today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need to come to a conclusion on what we want to do with this. Either go ahead with it, or we can, like Julissa said, we can back out of it at some point if we don't want to do this. Or not do it. So
Who wants to make a motion that we table this until our next regular meeting?
She has to have
you
a decision today.
Huh?
You have to have a decision today.
But we can always back out, like she said.
It's due in
October 1st is when it's due.
So if we had another special meeting, we just need 48 hours to advertise another special meeting.
If you want to think on it, we can have another meeting in 48 hours or next week, early next week.
Not necessarily.
Okay, well, I didn't think so. I mean, to me, it's just,
I don't know, I'm with,
Did any of the other counties that aren't doing it say why they weren't doing it? If there's a lot that aren't.
No, and I didn't speak with the city or county of those because those are the local unit of government is the technical applicant. I was speaking with community foundation representatives, so it could have been many things, or they just may not have been brought into the discussion, and maybe the counties are.
Right. What I have heard, Mike Kleinpeter, who does a lot of our grant work, he does oversee like 25 communities that he works with. And most of them, he said about half of them has already expended their money. And then the others, it's just, they already know what they want to spend it for, and that's what they're going to do.
Many communities are holding back because it is an interim final rule. It's the Treasury Department that we're really waiting on the
Right.
changes from, not necessarily OKRA. They've set up a program and that's what they're doing.
But you're saying we can apply for this and we are granted it and we can still pull out at
Our
that point?
understanding is the county could say, you know what, at this point, we're not interested. It is a fair point and a true point that if you say, yes, we're allocating the 30% toward this project, that you don't know right now how those dollars would be recommended to be spent in 52 weeks. That is a major factor. So beyond, and I support this grant, but I think it's fair to be very clear about that.
Right.
So is there a motion to approve or disapprove this?
We'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve resolution 21-R-8. Is there a second? No second?
I don't feel comfortable on a 20-minute presentation. I think that-
Motion's dead. Motion to disapprove. Is there a motion to disapprove it?
no.
Can I make a motion to apply and then we can back out at the last minute?
The only thing I would be concerned about with that is it could hinder the city. That was not something we talked about really.
They don't give details on that minute of a possibility, so
Right.
that technicality.
Meet again next week, Tuesday? Give you guys some time to mull it over and think about it.
And I don't know, we'll know any more than next Tuesday we do now.
We need a yes or a no, we're not giving either one.
We can take special questions back if you have any.
I'm okay to get together again if we need to.
Is there a motion to meet again next week, Tuesday at 6 o'clock?
Okay, look at me.
Friday,
Which Friday?
just Friday.
No can do. I'll be out.
Wednesday next week. Monday next week.
Monday's good for me.
I can do Monday.
Jim? John?
Monday next week,
Monday next week.
6,
6.
I'll do it.
Okay, is there a motion to meet next week, Monday at 6?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of meeting next week, Monday at 6 o'clock to discuss this resolution 21-R-8, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it, 6 ayes. Motion to close this meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adjourned. Okay. Budget adoption meeting. Did you guys already have a pledge?
Yes.